this was a very special trip to the Holy Mountain. I've been there before a few times for pilgrimage, which is incredible, and this time it was for a specific reason. There was a documentary that was being filmed about the life of Elder Joseph, the Ησυχαστή, and I was asked to be involved, and the documentary would be a lot of reenactments of dramatic moments from his life.
Who suggested that to you and how you reacted?
I don't know, I can't remember who the first person was that suggested it to me, but because I think I heard, you know, murmurings that this might happen even a couple years ago. So it was kind of in the back of my mind. I thought, wow, I don't know if this is, you know, again, it was this sense of like...
Expecting it.
Yes, and a trepidation, you know. This is not something I would take lightly. So when it did come together, and I finally heard, okay, this is happening, and you know, we had discussions of when are you available, and you know, and it's been very busy this year, and trying to figure out a time. And I've just been reading books about the life of Elder Iosif, and his letters are absolutely incredible, and the book by Yolanda Ephraim of Arizona is just phenomenal as well. And so I was just immersing myself in his life as preparation for this.
Was it easy for you?
No, it wasn't easy, but there was something that felt right about it. There was a lot of grace. It was very difficult in many ways, and at the same time there was this grace that was present. That was like this felt right, and everybody that was there, we could kind of feel it. It was a sense of like, you know, his prayers were with us. So yeah, I mean, in many ways it was intimidating. It was exhilarating. It was extremely exhausting, both physically and spiritually, and yet it was like a dream come true, in a sense also, as an actor, to be able to approach something like this that had this kind of depth, spiritual depth. It was just an incredible blessing.
Did you feel the need to ask for help from your spiritual father?
Oh yeah. I was asking for the prayers of anyone I could find. And I was asking for the prayers of my spiritual father. I wouldn't have been able to do that without his prayers, and the prayers of the fathers of the Holy Mountain, my wife, my children, and the help and intercession of the Mother of God. You know, that was one thing I experienced from Elder Iosif was I felt like I experienced a deeper love for the Mother of God that was from him. And just walking through some of his life, some of his experiences, and his love for the Mother of God was quite remarkable, quite inspiring. Well, creatively, it was different in many ways than what I had done because, you know, it was because it's the life of a hermit, the life of a hesychast for the most part. You know, most of the time when you're acting, you're collaborating a lot with other actors. The whole thing is how does the dialogue work and how does the scene work, and it's what happens with the other performers. And this was primarily just he's alone and in silence and praying. And so the process was different in that sense. And there really, you know, wasn't very much dialogue at all either. There were a few, you know, prayers and things like this, but there wasn't a lot of dialogue. And so it was, in some sense, it was almost like filming a silent movie, a dramatic silent film with these extreme situations. But as I said earlier, you know, at a very young age, I began to ask God to help me prepare for the various roles that I do with prayer. And so that helped me a lot because the preparation was prayer. And this was something that He had already put in me at a very young age. And so I did feel a sense of that I had been, you know, preparing for this for quite some time.
How did you feel when you had to hold his personal things like his rosary?
Yeah, the Kopaskini, yeah, yes. That was amazing, yeah. They had some books of his. They had the chair that he actually sat in. And you know, it's all very mystical. It's all very humbling. And the locations, everything was just, it was amazing. Like I said, it was like a dream come true to be a part of something like this. And to, you know, I think that the prayer, the goal was to show the inner life of a monk, of an ascetic, to show the inner life, because it's one thing to, you know, show something from a distance and see, okay, this person is alone in a cave and doing this and that, but to try to show more of the inner life and to bring that to the world. That was really the goal in the prayer.
And you had to play the role at all ages, right?
Yeah, yes.
From
well, almost. Not the teenage years, but from maybe 24 up. Yeah. So
there was a makeup transformation, but an inner transformation as well.
Yeah. It was. It was the emotional, physical experience, and by God's grace, we could all feel His presence and His help throughout the process. It was very humbling.
What has impressed you most from the personality of Elder Joseph?
There's so much. I think for me, reading about Elder Iosif and then, you know, playing him in the documentary, what comes out for me is his very personal love for Christ and the Mother of God. Above all, it was love. and you see an ascetic, an incredible ascetic. And the other thing that I was confronted with was just a sense of a sense of heroism. You know, he's like a spiritual hero. He's bravery, courage. He had a fight in him. He had a defiance against evil, and he had a love for God that was so powerful, that was all-consuming. But so everything he did, the fasting, the vigils, the prayers, all of this, it wasn't an end in itself. It was because of his love for God. It was because he was giving himself over entirely to God, and he was praying for the world. And it's almost impossible to rationally understand this life, because you read it and you just think, how is this even possible? But when you glimpse his love for God and his love for the world, that's when it starts to
come naturally.
Yeah, it starts to make sense in a spiritual, more mystical way. But yeah, I would say his love for God and his courage. He was relentless, and he never gave up.